Welcome to the Lively U Virtual Learning Academy program, and our presentation today is from BGSU students. We are presenting Quarantine Cooking in a Pinch. So we have Sarah and Mackenzie joining us today, and we welcome them to our presentation.
All right, so yeah, I'm Mackenzie, this is Sarah, and we are fourth-year dietetics students at BGSU. So we are studying nutritional science, and we graduate in May. For our senior year, we are doing a project focused around community outreach, and we wanted to work with the Wood County Committee on Aging to do a kind of cooking class today. Just because it is so hard to, get that social interaction now with the way the world is. So we thought this was a great way to kind of reach out to the community, and we love cooking, so we thought it would be super fun too. So thank you so much for joining us. And today we are going to be making a crock pot chili recipe and then a pumpkin mousse dessert. So do you want to talk a little bit about why we chose those recipes?
Yeah, that sounds good. So we chose these recipes specifically because they take few utensils and the ingredients can be changed a lot. We also chose them because they're high in a lot of things that Americans tend to not get enough of. So specifically like protein, calcium, and vitamin D. So we go more in depth on this in our brochure. I don't know if we can screen share. It is on the Facebook page, but we go more in depth about just kind of the benefits that all those nutrients offer, and it's a little easier sometimes just to read all that information instead of just having us verbalize it. But we're going to be talking a little bit about what each recipe specifically gives, and that's just a little bit of an intro. So we're going to start off with the chili recipe.
You want to show the brochure?
Yeah.
So we had the Wood County Committee on Aging send out this brochure to different people on their contact list. And
can you guys see it real fast?
Yeah. Is it up there?
Yes.
Awesome.
So we just had some pretty basic information that we put on there about different nutrients that our population usually misses out on. So all of these nutrients are featured in both the dishes we're going to make today. And that was another part of the reason why we chose them. So the main highlights we're going to talk about are calcium, which really helps with our bone health. Vitamin D, in that same vein, helps with bone health. Calcium and vitamin D kind of work together. And then protein as well, which is important for tons of different things in our body, but just a few big ones are muscle growth and maintenance and immunity as well. So the pumpkin dessert is really rich in calcium and vitamin D, and then the chili we're going to make is really rich in protein. Both from animal sources and plant sources. So that's why we chose those recipes. So if you hear us talking at all while we're making these recipes and you're like, whoa, what are all those big sciencey words those two girls are using, or it's just we're talking too fast, or you forget something, this brochure is shared on the committee's Facebook page too, if you'd like to go back and check it out. And we have a little crossword we made for it that features those same concepts. So, are you ready to get started with the recipes? Okay.
Ready to move on to chili. Yeah. Like Mackenzie said, if you have any questions, feel free to interrupt, or any advice. I love learning new recipes. I love learning new techniques, and we're just kind of sharing what we know, but we love hearing feedback. So feel free to drop that into the chat. To start off, we're gonna do the slow cooker chicken chili recipe.
So if you want to maybe use your phone to take a picture of the recipe to follow along with us, we're not going to keep this up the whole time. We're going to turn our camera back on the big screen so we can show you what we're doing. So I'll leave that up for a second. If you have a smartphone, I'm going to go grab the chicken.
It is also on the Facebook page. And we're also going to be verbalizing everything we're doing. So if you don't end up getting a picture of the recipe, don't worry.
Don't stress. Yeah.
Yeah. So how do we and stop share?
Yep.
Awesome.
Okay.
Still learning Zoom.
Yeah, aren't we all? All right, so the first thing we're gonna do for this recipe is you're gonna take some chicken breasts. I just got 2 chicken breasts and we thawed them. And you're gonna take your crock pot bowl, and we washed our hands and stuff before we started and tied our hair back too. So we are going to just take the chicken and put it in the bottom of the crock pot.
This helps make sure that it cooks a little bit more than some of the vegetables where it's not as important that it gets cooked all the way through. So you can just put that to the side now. I'm gonna angle it down. Another really cool thing about this recipe is it doesn't take that many utensils and it's pretty versatile. So the things that you're gonna need to have are a cup, measuring cup, a measuring tablespoon, and then a teaspoon, a can opener, a knife, and then something to cut on. So to start off, I'm just going to cut up all of the fresh ingredients, which in this case is a green pepper. So I know there's multiple ways to cut up a green pepper. I've always learned that if you want to save all of it, just cutting it in half like that, and then like that. That way the seeds don't get everywhere. And usually the white part on the inside, this little like filmy part, is the like most bitter part whenever it gets cooked. So I usually always rip that out. If you're going for convenience, like I work at a hospital, and what we do, since we cut so many green peppers, is you can cut off the base and the top in one smooth motion and then open it up. It just makes cutting it a little bit easier, but we want to use up all the green pepper, so, and we're only cutting one. You're able to cut. No, I think it's good. Yeah, you're just basically going to cut it up like you would for a chili recipe. And all this stuff just gets thrown in then to the crock pot.
And chili is one of my favorite things to make. And one of the reasons I love it so much is because it's kind of hard to mess it up. Like, it's kind of hard to add something to chili that doesn't end up tasting really good. So if you're not really a big bell pepper person, you be more like, I don't know, corn or, I don't know, what else are we gonna make? Zucchini?
Any vegetable, honestly, yeah.
You can add pretty much anything to this. And it'll still.
Do you guys have any vegetables that you found to taste the best in chili? If you do, throw it in the chat. We'd love to hear the secrets.
Give us some ideas.
Another, like Kenzie, oh, was someone about to say something?
I just joined late.
Oh, hello.
I had an appointment, so I ran late. Sorry.
No, you're good.
Thanks for joining us.
Yes.
We're making
A little intro too is we're going to be talking a lot, but if you have any questions, feel free to put it into the chat. Any recommendations, any things that you do that you find to work best. But yeah, we're just starting off with a chili, and the recipe is on the Wood County Committee Aging Facebook page.
Cool.
peppers in the crock pot.
Peppers in the crock pot. And now we're going to move on to the other fresh ingredient, which is the onion. They always make me cry. So you're going to want to cut off both the tops and the bottoms. This usually also too helps with peeling off the skin.
Yeah, my grandma taught me that, so I always peel off like the first layer of the onion.
Just helps it taste better. If you don't have fresh onion too, onion flakes or onion powder, they work also, because it's just for the flavor component. A fresh onion, of course, is going to taste the best, but I usually I can never usually use an entire bag of onions, so. Yeah. Next, we're gonna turn it. So we cut it in half, we turn it like this, and then we're just gonna cut it horizontally into whatever size chunks that you want. But this is gonna be against the grain. I don't know if you guys can kind of see that, where the lines follow.
So if you can see the line going down like that, we're gonna cut. Oh, is it making you cry, babe?
No, we're good.
We're gonna cut it against the line, so like that.
Mainly just because it makes it easier to not make a mess. And then the best way to get even sized pieces, since an onion is like forms in layers, is to kind of do the rainbow effect. So you're going to go at an angle, and you're just going to kind of chop it down through like this, following that kind of angle, the rainbow angle. And this is just so that way you get more of an even cut. I probably should be wearing a cutting glove right now or using a smaller knife, but this is all we have on hand, so whatever works. Is it just half an onion?
Yep.
Okay, so in the recipe, it just calls for half an onion and a whole green pepper. So the last bit we're gonna add, which is completely optional, is a jalapeno. They, again, if you guys have canned jalapenos or jarred jalapenos, that works too. But in this, we actually have a fresh one now. So if you don't like spice, I would not recommend including this.
I sometimes just take out the seeds, then it's not as hot.
Yeah, that's what we're gonna do too. I don't know which way, how do you do that? I usually cut it down the middle and then pick it out.
Yeah. You mentioned a cutting glove. Where do you, I don't know if I've ever seen those. Where do you get those?
I think you can order them offline. I have to use one. I work at a hospital as a food service worker, and so we have to wear them. But it's something that you can put on so that way if you end up slipping, it makes it a lot less likely to nick yourself.
So is it like super thick plastic or vinyl or something?
Um,
Or I'm
yeah.
imagining a armored, you know, a man in shining armor that has those metal gloves. That's what I need.
That would be cool. It's just a very thick fabric. I don't know the specifics of it. I know it's not cotton because it's really thick. Again, you can cut through it. It's an extra protection. It's thicker than like shirt material. It's almost like a tough sweater,
Yeah.
but it just fits on like a normal glove.
But it's not, it's a fabric or is it a vinyl? You cut out, so I didn't know if you answered that.
Fabric, yeah.
Yeah.
It's I'm pretty sure it's just like really thickly woven cotton.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
Okay, so jalapeno is done, and we're gonna throw that into our crock pot. That is it for the fresh ingredients that we have. If you're looking at a recipe, a lot of this can be changed. So if you, like I said before with the onion and the pepper, if you don't have it, like, and you don't usually use fresh ingredients because it's harder for you, frozen works or canned works.
I was going to ask, how do you get the pepper off your hands? Because that's the biggest problem I have when I do peppers.
The jalapeno or the green pepper?
The jalapeno, any kind of a hot pepper.
I honestly don't know. This is my first time cooking with a jalapeno.
My daughter told me to use vegetable oil,
Ooh,
but that seems like it would go down your sink and plug up your sink. Maybe wash it off with a
yeah.
paper towel afterwards.
Yeah, you definitely want to make sure you don't touch your eyes or anything after you do
Yes.
cut a jalapeno pepper.
And wash your hands really good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
wash your
Don't
hands.
touch your face for the rest of the day.
Okay, so now we're gonna move on to the canned ingredients that we're gonna add. And yeah. So if you don't have canned beans or anything around, you can also use fresh beans. They just require a couple more extra steps. So we got canned just for the convenience. And a cool thing about canned and frozen foods is that they have pretty much the exact same nutritional quality as fresh ingredients. So, oh yeah, besides salt. So Usually salt is added as a preservative to keep them fresh. So if salt's something that you're watching out for in your diet, they usually have low sodium options that you can get at the store. Or you can also just rinse off the beans or corn or tomatoes or whatever you're putting in before you add them. And that helps a lot too. So that's really the only thing that's different nutritionally. They have the same, vitamins and minerals and fiber too. Yeah, so it's a great option if fresh produce is just too much for you to mess with right now.
Especially if you're cooking for a lot, because usually fresh stuff is great. But, I go to Aldi, and mostly all the fresh stuff is in bags meant for families. And right now, I'm just looking for one, so canned stuff usually lasts a lot longer for me, or frozen.
Yeah, that's true. All right, so we are going to start off with 1 can of tomato sauce. So that took longer to make a mess than I thought we would. Thought we'd probably make a mess immediately. Okay, so we're going to add 1 can of tomato sauce.
And all the canned stuff just gets thrown right into the crock pot.
So it's a little hard to hear Sarah.
Oh,
Okay.
do you want
Yeah.
to over?
Do you have paper towels?
I do.
Cool. Thank you. All right. So 1 can of tomato sauce. And next I'm going to go in with 2 cans of diced tomatoes. I'm going to try to not cut myself on the lid. Bless you. Chili is my favorite thing to make for my fiance and I because it is just so easy and fast, and with school and work, I'm usually strained. Gotcha.
So for the next ingredients, we're going to be adding 2 cans of black beans. Again, if you're using fresh, it's going to, like the fresh whole beans uncanned, it's going to take a couple more steps just to boil them down, and a can of corn.
So we're going to strain these next 2
And rinse them off with water.
just to get some of that crud off there.
Yep. And to take off some of the salt. Do you mind if I add this while you're doing that?
Yes, go for it.
Awesome.
I think it's 2 cups.
Yep. So while Mackenzie is rinsing off the corn and the beans, I'm going to be adding in chicken broth. You can, again, if you're watching salt, they have low sodium. I'm sure you can use vegetable broth too. Other stuff works, but this is what we had on hand. So calls for 2 cups.
You'll be sending us this recipe too, right?
Yep. So it's posted on the Wood County Committee on Aging's Facebook page. I don't know how else we can pop up the recipe again too, if you want to take a picture of it.
Okay, cool.
What's going to work? Do you want us to pull it up now, or?
I could take a picture. I don't want to interrupt you, but
Okay. Yeah. Let me first finish the chicken broth, 2 cups, and then I'll pull it up so that way you can take a picture.
okay, cool. Yeah, I just kind of whip my chili together. I don't have a set recipe to follow, but this looks interesting, so I want to follow it.
That's exactly how I am. I use my mom's chili recipe, and her recipe, quotation mark, is just the ingredients without set amounts and a single temperature without time. So definitely whatever we have on hand.
Yeah, same here.
Do you have anything that you add to your chili? Any secret? Not
Sometimes-
secret.
Sometimes I just use V8 juice instead of others extra.
I never thought about that. That would be really nice.
Yeah, because then you've got different veggies and stuff.
Yeah, even more. Here's the recipe. Can you see that?
Yeah, I'll probably be able to blow it up with my phone. If you want to scroll up and I'll see the instruction.
The The instructions are on the bottom, so if you want to take a picture of it now, and then I can scroll down.
Yeah, go ahead, scroll down.
We like this one too because it's pretty hassle-free, and it also has different like substitutions and advice. So that's all the notes and instructions.
Whoops, wait a minute, I gotta do that again. Okay, got it. Thanks.
Yeah.
All right, so we have the, I don't know if I can tip it a little bit. Yeah, we have this is a full crock pot. We have the corn and the black beans in there now. So all that's left to add is the seasonings. And you can add these to your liking. They're flexible, just like everything else in this dish. So I'm gonna start off with 2 teaspoons of Italian seasoning. You can use parsley too, or oregano. Yeah. Can you open this? Yeah. I have like no fingernails right now. Thank you. Yep. So if you don't have Italian seasoning, you can use oregano too in the same quantities. So 2 teaspoons. 2 very liberal teaspoons.
I like a lot of cooking mine usually.
Me too. I don't like the spice. That's what gets me. Sometimes I'll make a recipe and I'll be like, "Ooh, that was a lot of chili powder." I'm going to do 1 tablespoon of cumin. And 2 teaspoons of chili powder. If I was making this just for me, I might only add 1 tablespoon. But I know my fiance is probably going to be eating this, and he likes spicy stuff. So I'll just make the sacrifice this time. Then we'll go with the full 2 teaspoons. And then the last seasoning that this recipe calls for is minced garlic. So one of my I don't know if this is a cooking hack, but I think of it that way. One of my favorite cooking hacks that I found since I moved into my own house and do the cooking for me and my fiance now is buying the garlic at the store that's already minced. It's a little bit more expensive, but oh my gosh, does it save so much time. So, ooh, smell that, it smells so good. So we're gonna go in with 1 tablespoon of that.
1 tablespoon of 4 teaspoons.
Yeah.
If your tablespoon doesn't fit in there, that's why she's doing the teaspoon. Again, if you don't have fresh garlic, garlic powder, it's not gonna have the same like effect and taste, but I don't usually have fresh garlic on hand. Pepper and salt.
Yes. And then we're just gonna add some salt and pepper to kind of start off with, just to your liking, it seems like. Do you want to talk about the Mrs. Dash stuff, since I don't really know?
Yeah. So if you are someone who's watching your sodium, maybe you wouldn't put in the salt, or I don't know if you guys have ever seen the Mrs. Dash packets. I don't know where you get them if it's not at a hospital, but I know that that's something that we give people who want to watch their sodium.
A good idea. My husband needs to watch his sodium now.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's everything added to the crock pot. So now what we're gonna do is we're just gonna give this a good stir, and we're gonna take it over and put it on the crock pot. I think it's low or on high for 3 hours, or low for 6 to 8 hours. What you're looking for is that chicken is just cooked through. Once that's done, you're good to go with it. So then at the end, once the chicken's cooked, you can add 4 ounces of cream cheese to kind of make it a little bit creamier, and then let it sit for probably 10 to 15 more minutes just to let that all absorb. And then you can pull it out and top it with anything you like. I like to use sprinkled cheese and crackers. I don't know, what do you like?
I like that. Cream on cheese, sour cream, crackers. My mom sometimes boils noodles, and then we have chili mac. Something too with the chicken is you're gonna want to shred it up after those 3 hours are done. So we don't have a whole bunch of time. If you have all day to cook it, you're probably gonna want to cook it on low, but we're gonna do it on high right now for those 3 hours.
Quick question, do you want to share what internal temperature the chicken is to be at before you kind of pull it off?
Yeah, so 165 is the internal temperature. If you guys have a meat thermometer, you're gonna want to use that.
I don't have a meat thermometer at home, so what I usually do is I just cut into the thickest part of that chicken and look for any kind of pinkness. So if it's cooked all the way through and it looks white, so if you still see pink in your chicken, you should probably let it cook for a little bit longer. So that is the
Good question.
yeah,
Thanks.
thank you.
That was a chili recipe.
Yeah, so recipe. Do you want to move on to the pumpkin mousse now? All
I
right.
think we're just gonna move straight into the pumpkin mousse. So again, low. Oh, I see a jalapeno seed. Again, low utensils needed for this recipe. It's stuff that you can kind of store for a long time, just on your shelf. I'm gonna grab it. And it has a little bit of cooking with the seasons. Since we're coming upon fall, we wanted to have something, some seasonal fruits and vegetables, which pumpkin is. Okay. So this recipe is one of the easiest recipes I've ever seen, and it's, I don't know, I'm excited for it because it's gonna taste good.
I'm so excited to taste it.
The core, I'm gonna put it down a little bit too so that you guys can actually see. So here is all the ingredients that you need, all the measuring utensils that you need. Yeah, this is basically the dessert recipe. I'm gonna pull it up for you guys too real fast. Let me share my screen. And then share. And then, oh,
I think you can drag it and put it down
yeah,
at the bottom of the screen too, maybe.
oh, nice. So here is our pumpkin dessert recipe. Can you guys see it?
Yes.
Awesome.
Yes.
On the side, again, it has a couple of tips. It also has the nutritional information if you're looking into like the sugar or the, again, the sodium, if that's something that you need to be watching. It's already listed there for you if you follow the recipe step by step. But it is a small serving, so if you want to make it for like a family, you may need to double it, but we're just doing one serving since there's only a couple of us. Okay. I'm gonna exit out. Did everyone get it that needed it?
Yeah, I did.
Stop screen sharing. Okay, as you go down. So now we just gotta throw it all in. We have the canned pumpkin. It said you can use pumpkin pie, canned pumpkin pie, but we just like that. We don't like it as sweet, so we're just gonna use straight pumpkin. It calls for an entire cup, and so that's gonna be about 2/3 of a regular sized can. If you really like the taste of pumpkin, I'm sure you could put more of it in. Since we're not baking it, it's not as important that we get all the exact measurements.
Yeah, I feel like this recipe is going to be pretty forgiving.
Which is, again, a reason why we kind of chose it, because in quarantine, sometimes you just want to whip something up real fast, or you don't have a lot of ingredients on hand, and that's why we chose these. So I am lactose intolerant. Basically, I can't eat milk, so skim milk or whole milk is a great option for this, but since I can't eat it, I use almond milk. Same kind of, it's a milk replacement, same kind of idea, just doesn't upset my stomach.
And dairy alternatives are great for that if you're having problems digesting dairy, but you want to try and find one that is enriched with vitamin D and calcium. Yeah, so regular cow's milk has those in it already, just naturally. But a lot of milk alternatives like soy milk and almond milk, they need to be enriched. So just make sure you check on the nutrition label. Sometimes they'll even say it on the bottle, like enriched with calcium, just to make sure that that's in there so that you're getting the nutritional benefits from this recipe too.
So I added 1.5 cups of whatever type of milk you're using, and then we're just going to put in a package of Jell-O. I think this one is the sugar-free one.
Yeah, it's the Jell-O brand pudding. Not actual Jell-O.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, this is the sugar-free one.
If you're not someone who needs to watch the sugar or the calories, I would say go for the full sugar one. But oh, sorry, Kenzie.
Oh,
your face.
No, you're fine.
This one may be a little messier. So adding that all in, and now time for the spices. Again, super loose on the spices that you need to add. I think the recipe calls for 1 teaspoon of pumpkin pie spice, but all we have here is cinnamon, allspice, nutmeg, and we're going to put a little bit vanilla in there. So any kind of like nutmeg, cinnamon, allspice, those are usually all used to make a pumpkin pie spice. If you don't have one on hand, that's something that you can do. So we're just going to add in the spices now, whip it all up, and then you need to chill it. If you want to, you could put graham crackers in it, vanilla wafers. You can top it with Cool Whip. It's kind of depending on who's eating it, what they like, and who, how much time you have.
You know what I just thought would be good? My family, for like gatherings, they love to make banana pudding, kind of like this, like a banana pudding dessert. So they take banana pudding and vanilla wafers and whipped cream. And like we always get the sugar-free stuff because my grandparents are diabetic. And it's so good. Like it never lasts. We always eat all of it. And how good would it be to like do that with this? Like put vanilla wafers on it and stuff.
I didn't think about that. So we're just in like, for the reasoning of trying to keep the equipment low and the utensils low that you need, we're just using one big bowl. But like if you want to layer it up in a casserole dish, what is that called? Have you guys ever had like lushes before? It's, my grandma makes them. It's pudding and Cool Whip layers, and there's some cream cheese in there. My mom makes them too. They're really good.
The one with angel food cake, or pound cake, I'm sorry, pound cake cut up into cubes, and you layer it with all the, you could, whatever you want, the pudding and the fruit layer like strawberries and blueberries, and then then you just keep alternating layers and whipped cream.
I love those. And there's something easy too and quick that you can make, low ingredients. And I mean, yes, it is a dessert, so it's going to be a little high in sugar, but like something like that, you're getting nutrients from the fruit and you're also getting calcium from the milk. So yeah.
And you got a clear tall bowl, and the layers look all pretty in there too.
Thank you.
Yeah, my daughter makes those. Those are truffles.
Yeah, that's just, what's the difference between a truffle and a parfait? Is parfait the one with the granola in it?
I think basically because the truffles are so big, I think that's the biggest difference.
Yeah. I'm going to change to a whisk just because my spices are kind of congealing up. Sorry if this is loud. So this is the finished product. It's going to be a little runny at first just because that pudding needs to set up. So you're going to want to leave it, I think it says leave it in the fridge and chill. I think it's going to take a couple hours, which is perfect because our chili is going to take a couple hours too. So I'm just going to pop this in the fridge.
And then when you pull it out, You can just top it with whipped cream or cookies or wafers or pound cake or fruit or anything that sounds good to you. Or just eat it just right out of the bowl, which is probably what I would do.
That's what I'm gonna do.
Okay. So now we just kind of like to take some time to answer any questions, and then we have a couple of questions for you guys, if you guys don't mind throwing them up in the chat or talking about it, and then feedback.
Do you have any questions for us?
Oh, I guess because I missed the beginning, I don't know who's Sarah and who's Mackenzie, and what nutrition majors, what kind of job do you ultimately get?
I'm Mackenzie,
And I'm Sarah.
and we're both dietetics majors at BG. We're in our last year, so we graduate in May. And I don't know, sometimes I tell people I'm a dietetics major and they're like, oh yeah, I've seen a dietitian for this and this. And then sometimes people are like, what is that? So basically dietitians just help people with problems with their health they have pertaining to nutrition. So if you or anyone you know has diabetes, they've probably worked with a dietitian to help them with carb counting and insulin and things like that.
Food allergies too.
Yeah.
There's the business side of it too that you can go into.
Yeah, there's so many different things you can do with it. But personally, when I graduate, I'd like to work in a clinical setting. So I'd like to work in a hospital with patients. Do you know what you want to do?
Something community-based or something with allergies. I have a lot of people who have a lot of allergies, and I don't know, I think it would be fun helping them still learn how to live a normal life and enjoy. So,
Yeah, I just didn't know if you both would be working in hospitals or where else you would work beside a hospital, I guess.
There's lots of different places. Like for community settings, one of the biggest ones for community is working with women and children who are using WIC services. So helping them, I don't know, do you know more about that? I actually don't know a lot about what dietitians do with WIC.
they kind of help with nutritional counseling with pregnant people or if their kids have allergies, and they also help them get a hold of the help that they need, like financial aid and the type of things that are available to them. So a lot of different things, but
Yeah.
That's
Did
cool.
you- yeah.
I'm just going to take a moment and just stop the recording, and that way we can open it up to questions.